we had that. Community Chronicles Radio, brought to you weekly by Gannon University's Erie Technology Incubator, in partnership with the Corey Higher Education Council. The Erie Technology Incubator, located at 900 State Street, works in the entrepreneurial ecosystem and provides technical assistance through the entrepreneurial process. This show features members of this ecosystem and the entrepreneurs in our Erie area. Welcome to Community Chronicles Radio. If you'd like to give us a call, any questions for us, Steph and I, or the guests, the number is 814-679-1080. I am Dr. Matthew Plotz, and with me today, as always, is our spectacular co-host, Steph Screws. How are you, Steph?
Great. I'm spectacular today.
Yes.
Sorry.
There are so many adjectives as I write that every week. I go to the online thesaurus and go from there. But maybe we'll have to start picking the negative ones. Maybe.
No. No, I do feel spectacular today because I have Boys to Men tickets for tonight at Chautauqua Institution.
That's going to be great.
I have front row seats. I'm very excited for that.
You know, the Chautauqua Institution puts on so many different things, and it runs the gamut. Like, honestly, if you go to their website and look at what they're doing, there's so much awesome stuff. It's like, 35, 40 minutes. You live in Corey, so how far is it from there?
It's not very far. It's like maybe not even 45 minutes because I just go up to, Climbers, where I'm originally from, and from there it's only about like 20 minutes. So it's probably like a half an hour from here or so, not much. But I used to work up there, when I was in high school. So I'm very familiar with the Institute and all the stuff. We used to be able to go to concerts free up there when we worked there. I don't think they do that anymore, but that was neat.
The cool thing is a lot of the shows you get like a gate pass. So if you just want to hang out there and check everything out, they have restaurants. It's a really cool space if you haven't been there.
It is. It's beautiful. Yeah.
So to get to our show today, I want to thank our sponsor, Gannon University's Erie Technology Incubator, with their continued sponsorship of the program. We had a tremendous amount of success providing a medium for the Erie area's entrepreneurs so far to tell us about their products and services. The Corey Higher Education Council and Gannon University are happy to welcome Deb Lutz to the program today. Deb is the Northwest Regional Director for the Steel Valley Authority, the Strategic Early Warning Network, and a Gannon ETI board member. This is going to be a day, I think. We'll get it started. Good morning, Deb.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Great. Good morning, Deb. Great to have you on.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Now, you have a wealth of experience in several different sectors. How does this experience inform your decision making in your current role?
Well, I think that's a polite way of telling me that I'm old. Telling me that I'm old, but that's okay. I appreciate that courtesy. So just to give you a little bit of background about the SOAN program that I worked for since December of 2016, we've been around since 1985. And the SOAN program was developed in response to the steel mill collapse that happened in the Pittsburgh region in the late 80s. And so hence the name Steel Valley. We help small to medium-sized manufacturers, primarily manufacturers, with layup aversion services, which means maybe nothing to some people, but I think that term has evolved over the past couple of years, especially since COVID. So what I like to say, we help, businesses continue to grow and thrive in the state of Pennsylvania. So we are a Pennsylvania-based resource funded through the Department of Labor and Industry. So, I work in Northwest and North Central region of Pennsylvania. And so I think the experience that I've had since I've been with the SOAN program, as well as prior experience in economic development, and then prior to that, I was a Venango County Commissioner in the late 90s. I think that has all helped me just with a unique approach to every business that I try and assist, bringing the knowledge from my current position as well as my past positions to help the businesses with whatever their challenges and or opportunities may be.
Now, how have you seen the startup community change over the years?
Um, for me, I think, especially since COVID, I think the entrepreneurial spirit has been revived, or maybe not revived is the right word, but I think it's been brought more to the forefront, because COVID changed the way businesses have and are doing business. And so I think more people, when the pandemic was in, the very early stages, and when things began to close down, I think more people recognized the opportunity that they had to maybe fulfill an inward dream or passion that they had, or were thinking about for a number of years. I think COVID just brought those opportunities to the forefront. So I think it's been a very robust period of time, especially since 2021, where the number of startups been um, that have been developed has really increased.
I think almost all of the businesses that we talk about on this show, like that's what they've kind of been born out of. Not all of them, but COVID, that was the big turning point, and kind of forcing people to think outside of the box and turn more to their passions.
I think that so many people got sent home, and even if you kept your job, if you're fortunate enough to keep your job, you had some downtime, and so the thoughts that you may have had about how to start a business or an idea that you had kind of started to come to fruition.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. And I think it gave people, an opportunity, like I said, to launch their dreams if it's something that they had been considering. And especially if they were in that unfortunate situation of losing their previous position that they had, their employment. It maybe gave people that little nudge that they needed to maybe dive off the diving board into that entrepreneurial world.
Exactly. Now you are again an ETI board member. Can you talk about how you were recruited to serve on that?
Well, I will say that I feel like I'm a truly non-traditional ETI board member. It's not that I did not know the ETI existed, because I did. I came on the ETI board, I think it was in June of 2022. And I was first introduced to potentially serving on the board from Kathleen Johnson. She was previously employed at ETI for a short period of time. And Kathleen and I worked together doing business outreach in Erie when she was employed at the Erie Regional Chamber. And it just so happened, when she started to work at ETI, she said to me, I think you would enjoy serving on this board. We have a lot of entrepreneurs that think outside the box. I appreciate that. I respect that. And so she said, why don't you consider putting in an application to serve on the board? And so I did. And surprisingly, Brad and Kathy had accepted my application. And so here I am.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience on the ETI board? Or
Sure. I have found it to be very rewarding. And while I am not an entrepreneur, I have a great deal of respect for entrepreneurs. I'd like to think that I'm an entrepreneur at heart. But it's been great getting to know the ETI clients through the board reports that Brad and Kathy give us, as well as I've been able to attend a few of the in-person networking events that they have hosted. I am just amazed at some of the products. I mentioned to Brad before getting on the program, one of my favorite products that I learned about through my time on the ETI board was Alex and their Althea, their diaper bag. They call it an innovative diaper bag with accessories. And their statement that they simplify parenthood, which those of us who are parents know there's nothing simple about being a parent. But it has been, I just found that ingenuity just so fascinating. And that's just one example. There's Brad also reminded me about Lever for Data from Sarah Hanks. She's a supply chain professional with Wabtec, but she also has this on the side business that she's growing and developing. Evident Financial, they're an anchor tenant at ETI. They have 401k investment service that a lot of manufacturers in the Erie area utilize and are exploring. Working with them, and Kelly Burkhart of Donlon Distribution, who sold bolts and screws. And I actually worked with Kelly in my day job at Sohn. She reached out for some succession planning and some market diversification services. And so, it was great to be reintroduced to her through ETI as well.
So you are the regional director for the Steel Valley Authority and the Strategic Early Warning Network. I got to briefly kind of look at some of those websites. I don't know if you could tell us a little bit more about those or about what they do or their
Sure.
purpose.
So the Steel Valley Authority is the umbrella organization, and the SOAN program, the Strategic Early Warning Network, is a program of the Steel Valley Authority. So as I mentioned when I first got on the show, we've been around since the late 80s, the SOAN program. Excuse me. And we have 5 offices, regional offices across the state of Pennsylvania. We are able to provide free consulting services to small to medium-sized manufacturers primarily, but we have recently, since COVID, been able to expand our reach into non-traditional manufacturing fields like logistics and transportation. We do specialize in layoff aversion services. I take a little bit unique approach to helping my clients than maybe some of the other resource partners that you may be familiar with, in that we do a financial analysis of our clients prior to engaging any other professional consulting services with them. And what that entails basically is taking a look at like 3 years of their financial statements, not to critique the business, not to critique their accounting or operating systems or services. But, sometimes you learn a lot about a business through the numbers and the financial statements. And so, through the course of conversations and reviewing their financial statements, I may be able to identify other areas of assistance that I can provide through the SOAN program that potentially that business owner may not have been thinking about initially when they chose to or want to engage with me.
I
go
ahead,
find
Matt.
that absolutely interesting. Down in Corey, it is a manufacturing community,
Sure.
but it's kind of the idea that it's kind of the older way. Some of the manufacturers are looking into, new manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, but this would be such a great service for a lot of them down there.
Yeah, and I do have clients in the Corey area. Of course, we keep our client information confidential, especially the financial information. But I have and do work with clients in Corey, and you're right. They are traditional manufacturing, but with the next generation of business owners coming on board, I think we are seeing that transition happening to old style manufacturing to the future of manufacturing, more automation, those kind of things taking place. And while I am not an expert in technology, I know where to find the experts to help them. Like, for instance, with factory layout or lean manufacturing, operational efficiencies, those kind of things.
That's really great. So I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. We try to provide services at the Corey High Ed for our local manufacturers. Would you be willing at some point to come and talk to them?
Absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Great.
Anytime. Yes. And I have participated in those kind of resource forums where you bring in multiple partners together that can tell businesses what services they have available to help them. And the nice thing that I appreciate about working in the Erie ecosystem, if you will, if I don't have the ability or resources to help a particular business, I have no problem making a referral to another resource partner who I feel can and will help them. So it's not a end all with me, certainly. And I know that the other resource partners feel the same way. So,
hey, Deb, this is Kathy. And what a great segue talking about resources. Can you tell everyone about the great resource that you have put together? To help entrepreneurs and manufacturers find, other ways that they can be helped along in their journey.
Oh, are you talking about the business resource website?
I am.
Oh, great. Well, thank you, Kathy.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it. So the SOAN program has recently launched a website. We're calling it the PA Business Resource website. And there's a QR code. But I think if you just type in www.pabusinessresources.org, it will bring you up to this website that we have developed. And on this website is a listing of resources that this is meant for business owners. If they have a particular need or service that they just don't know where to find this need or service at, they can put that inquiry into the search bar and it will bring up a service provider or entity that can help them with their needs. It's a free listing, and we are trying to make it as robust as possible. There's service providers on there that their services are free of charge, but there may be some that there is a small fee for the services that they provide. We don't distinguish between free and or for charge services on the website. But we do ask entities to, fill out a brief description of their service that they do provide. And then our chief of staff, the website administrator, will kind of vet those entries a bit and reach out for any additional needed information. So the last I knew, there was over 300 service providers or entities on the website that have their listing. And so it will be as robust as we can make it. And I think the nice thing about this website, it's not going to go away anytime, because we did get grant dollars to develop the website. However, I don't know if you noticed, sometimes during COVID, there was different websites that popped up about resources that were available to help businesses. But then once COVID, I won't say was over or is over, those websites went away. That's not the intent of our website. It will be in effect, going forward. So we've been around since 1985. We don't plan on going anywhere. So, as we continue to grow and promote the website, I think it will continue to become more and more robust and more of a good resource tool for our manufacturers that, you know, we live in an alphabet soup of acronyms in my world. And while I may understand and know those acronyms, I don't expect our business owners to have to keep up with, you know, what the latest program that the state has put out to help them. You know, so that's where the resource website I think will be very beneficial.
Yeah, we see a lot of times where the owners of these manufacturers, they spend a lot of time in the day to day, and they can't turn their attention to probably the bigger picture items that need to be done. So kind of
Exactly.
synthesizing it down gives them the opportunity to take a look, and
Exactly.
then to get answers to their questions fairly easy.
That's right. And if they can't find the answer to, you know, what they're looking for, I know they would be able to reach out to Sown directly for an inquiry, and we can then, you know, pick up the phone and try and help them one on one.
So
Yeah,
go ahead.
just a shameless plug here a little bit. I hope you can start to get a sense for why Deb's on the ETI board. As much as entrepreneurs inform what we do, Deb's understanding of what's impacting the workforce, all the economic conditions around reshoring after COVID, workforce shortage, all sorts of other elements, inform helping an entrepreneur when they start to go into the marketplace. And the network she has is enormous, which again continues to help our entrepreneurs as they kind of migrate and mature into the investment space and into the marketplace. So it's really glad to have her on our board. Can't say it enough.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the important thing is, and we kind of reiterate it every week here, is that this network of our entrepreneurial ecosystem, if the person that you're talking to currently does not have the answer to your question, there are other resources and quite a few other people that you can talk to. So if you're thinking about starting a business or providing a product or service, you are not alone, and you don't have to take that everything on your own steps. You can talk to people who can help you along.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So we're coming to the end of the first half hour. We have news at the bottom of the hour coming up here. But as I was looking at your website, there's so many similarities between what we do at the Corey High Ed and what you're doing at the SVA. One of the interesting things is the layoff aversion stuff, where you're upskilling or reskilling workers. And we spend a lot of time trying to find ways to do that. And if you've been working for several years, the last thing you want to do is go and take on debt and go to a 4-year college to learn something. But there are opportunities out there where you can just kind of reskill a little bit and then use what you've been using for so long. Can you talk about that layoff aversion program real quick?
Sure. So we recently have put into place some funding for incumbent worker training, which is exactly what you just talked about, Matt. So we have available funding up to $2,500 per employee for training for reskilling or upskilling. Just need to reach out to me. Tell me what the training you're looking for your employees is about, and hopefully one of the caveats is it needs to increase their standing with your business. So again, reskilling and upskilling. And so we don't get into the business of dictating who the training provider should be. We provide.
We got to wrap it up, Deb. I'm sorry. We're going to be cutting to the news, but we appreciate you coming on the show and talking about what you're doing.
Oh, great. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me.
Absolutely. If you'd like to stick around for the other side, you can do that. We'll be back with Heather and Lauren Cass from Tour Erie.
Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Community Chronicles Radio, brought to you weekly by Gannon University's Erie Technology Incubator, in partnership with the Corey Higher Education Council. The Erie Technology Incubator, located at 900 State Street, works in the entrepreneurial ecosystem and provides technical assistance through the entrepreneurial process. This show features members of this ecosystem and the entrepreneurs in the Erie area. I want to thank our first guest this morning, Deb Lutz. Thank you for coming on. But I am ready to hear everything our next guests have to tell us. It's an exciting venture that they're starting out. Welcome to the show, Heather and Lauren Cass. Welcome.
Thank you. How are you?
Doing well.
Good.
I have the rest of today off, so it'll be.
He's doing really good. Yes, welcome, Heather and Lauren. I always love talking about travel. Can you give us a little background on both of you?
Sure. So I'm a former journalist. I worked for the Erie Times-News for 10 or 12 years before I moved on to Penn State Barron, where I still write stories. And my daughter, who is our tour guide on Tour Erie, has been giving tours at Barron for 3 or 4 years now, admissions tours. And I've always wondered why nobody was doing any sort of walking tour in downtown Erie. And every year I would say, oh, somebody will do it. And then last year we thought, well, maybe we should do it. So we put it together. Yeah.
That's great. Can you talk about your decision to start a new business right here in Erie?
Sure. So I'm familiar with the Beehive Network and the Gannon Small Business Center because of my work at Penn State Barron. So I knew that there were resources available to help us figure it all out. But I had no idea the level of resources that were available, and they really helped us through the whole entire thing. So we kind of went there with our idea, and they got us started and told us, this step, then that step, then this step. This whole process started about a year ago today, and and we started giving tours. Just opened it up for tours about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Just about.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I didn't realize this was so new. Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit about Tour Erie?
So it's like I said, just my daughter and I right now. We started with a basic bayfront tour. So we go downtown and we have about 10 or 20 stops.
Yeah, just about, yeah.
And we talk about a whole variety of things. We're kind of aimed at the visitor market. So all the hotels that are down there, we want to tell people about Erie and get them excited about Erie. We want to explain how the bayfront and the waterfront has changed. But we also, of course, talk about Oliver Hazard Perry and the War of 1812 and all those kinds of things. So all the people that we've taken on the tour, people who have lived in Erie all their lives, have said, wow, I never knew that. Like, everybody seems to learn something. So it's kind of interesting.
So what kind of challenges are you facing as you get this business off the ground?
To be honest, like getting people to know about it. So it's been very challenging. One of the things that we did in our research was talk to tour guides from Pittsburgh and Cleveland and Buffalo, and we took a lot of tours in other cities. And the guy from Cleveland, when I asked him, what did you learn the hard way? And he said, well, as soon as I put up a website, I thought people would just start booking. And he's like, that isn't how it works. And so I was really glad he told me that, because we're having a hard time getting the word out and letting people know about it. So, but we have a ghost tour coming up that I think will be very popular with a lot of people. So
yeah, really excited about it.
Those do very well up at Brewer Erie with Chris Sirianni does that haunted history tour, and they're always booked. So
yes, yeah, and we did that last year. We've been trying to go on as many tours as we can to learn a little bit about it. So
yeah,
I know all the ghost tours, and I know we have a paranormal class coming up at the High Ed, which we're excited about too. But people always love, especially around in October, or I mean, even when it's not in October, but they're exciting. They're usually people, flock to those. I know I do.
Yeah. One of our other challenges this year has been starting a business on the bayfront when they're doing all the road construction.
I wondered about that. It's not the easiest walk down there, right?
No, not really. And as they close the roads, that's part of the reason we were going to maybe move the ghost tour up toward Perry Square more, because that traffic is a little challenging, but it's all for a good reason.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what other exciting ideas do you have for the future?
We talked about doing like a uniquely Erie tour where we go around to a lot of like unique
Erie local spots like I can't say it. Help me
Glass
out here.
Growers Gallery.
Thank you.
It's a tongue twister.
Exactly. Things like that. We obviously want to do like a maritime tour. We have such rich maritime history that it feels important. And if we don't, it feels like we'll be missing a whole section of Erie. So yeah, stuff like
So
that.
the maritime tour also is one that we initially were going to do, but then we realized that there was a lot of information to learn and absorb. So that one got put on the back burner, and we started with just a basic Erie tour. And we have the ghost tour. I've thought about things like family fun tour, where we would go to like the Perry Square Fountain and various locations around here, and then end at, say, the Children's Museum, where we could come up with some sort of partnership. So I think there's a lot of ideas. We just need to get the word out and start doing it, and people will see us and join us. So
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to talk to Kelly over at the Erie Food Tours?
I haven't. We were supposed to sit down together and have coffee. She's really busy.
Yeah.
She's a teacher, she's a mom, and she's running this business. So we were supposed to sit down and have coffee because our business is really different from what she's doing.
Yeah.
And I've done her tours and they're fabulous. I've done the Appy tour and it's so much fun. So I think we can all kind of work together. But I know she started that business as a summer, like just for fun, and it became a big business.
It's hard to get into them.
Yes. Yeah. So I do know that. So yeah.
Is there a little known insight that you can give us on the show right now that people may learn when they signed a tour with you?
Sure. Lauren, you want to?
Yeah, I'll do it. Something not everybody knows is that Oliver Hazard Perry didn't actually like Daniel Dobbins. They actually kind of detested each other. So there's a lot of little things that happened there that kind of led to some changes during the actual like war and stuff because they didn't like each other. So,
Yeah, they had a bit of beef. So there's some reasons that there were only 9 ships in the Battle of Lake Erie, even though we had 10, because he sent Dobbins back to Erie on a supply run so that he got rid of him.
Just got him out of the way.
Yeah. But I ultimately, and this is what we say on the tour, I think maybe it was a good thing because like 85% of the people on those boats died. So maybe he saved Dobbins' life. Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I was looking at your website now. Like, where can people find? I'll let you tell them. Where can people find you to buy a tour if they'd like to have?
So on our website, you can book online. It's www.toureeriepa.com. You can also just message us anytime too. If some people are uncomfortable with the credit card thing, so you can always message us anytime. And one of the other things we're trying to figure out too is like, are these times and dates okay? Maybe our time is quite off. So we're just trying to figure it out. And when Lauren goes back to college, it'll all kind of shift. Everything will be more evenings. And I think we have some Tuesday, Thursdays then is what we're kind of doing.
Yeah.
So she's our tour guide. I'm kind of the mom behind the scenes, making all the business stuff happen, which has been so much more work than I would have ever imagined starting a business is. And I'm very lucky. We don't have to collect taxes. I have no employees.
We don't have we don't have to worry about like an office.
No, we have
all
no
kinds of stuff.
we have no materials, but I'm amazed at how hard it is to start a business, how much work it is. And I've gone to a lot of the opportunities at the Small Business Center and the library, anything that they offer that's a class for small businesses. And some of these people have, started manufacturing companies or, even a place where you cut hair. Like there's so much to think about. And it's just, mine is so low stakes. We haven't even had to get financing. So our largest expense for this business is actually the insurance policy. That's the largest investment that we made. So other than that, it's marketing costs and things like that. So
like t-shirts.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead. This is a good segue actually. So go ahead, Kath.
Okay, thank you. So, love you guys, love what you're doing. I've been on self-guided tours and you get lost and it's just the personal touch, I think is so much better. So, I'm so glad that you guys have opened up a business. So, you're really new to the startup community, but as you started your journey, a year ago and everything that you've been going through, was there something that you thought, geez, if there was only this, I think it would made our journey easier or better. Or on the flip side, oh my gosh, I'm so glad we discovered this, because this was probably the biggest help we ever could have received.
Well, I can tell you one thing that, and this was, I can't remember if it was the Beehive or the Gannon Small Business Center, which one we were working with, but they basically require you to do a business and marketing plan before you can, before they will help you build a website. At the time, it was like so extensive and it took forever, and it's probably a 20-page document. And I'm like, this is crazy. I have to think about all these things, but it was the greatest exercise. And it was so important, I think, for us to really think about a lot of stuff that we hadn't thought about before. And so as laborious as that process seemed, like I was kind of irritated. I'm like, I don't have time to do all this. It was the most beneficial, one of the most beneficial things that we did.
Awesome.
Yeah, that business plan, the marketing plan, having to really sit down and think about what you're doing before you just jump into it. That planning part I found really, really useful. And then, I mean, the Beehive Network is just
they were amazing.
fabulous. From the free, law, they helped us set up our LLC. My husband had owned apartments for a while and set up an LLC. I think it cost him over $1,000 at a lawyer just to do that. Wow. And Penn State did it for us for free through the Beehive Network, Yep. So
that is amazing.
That's a tremendous savings. And everything else that they've done for us, just helping us walk through. Penn West has developed our logo, and they did they recently did a rack card when I went begging, because I tried to do it myself, and I was like, please, could you just maybe do this? He did it quickly. So, yeah, they've been such a great
they're
resource.
great down there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, Penn West does a great job. This actually came about because Chris suggested that you come on.
Yeah.
This is Brad Gleason. I'm going to jump in from the as part of the Gannon Beehive. So Heather, I love what you're doing. And to Kathy's point about the human touch, vacations are, for a lot of parents, it's still an educational opportunity, but also in the summer, kind of building your weekly activity plan with your kids while they're off school. I think you solve both problems at one time. Right. You're an educational opportunity for both, while a lot of people want to get their 10,000 steps in. There's another plug there too. Yeah. Just the healthy part of your tour. And so I'm hoping that a lot of parents are listening to this call and thinking through how they're going to plan next week, and probably pulling up your website right now, because the educational piece, as you're making your kids active and getting them away from any kind of games that they're playing or TV, I think is really critical in the summer. You keep their brains going so that they're successful in school and out of school. And I think you're a great alternative.
Yeah, and you touched on one of the things that we hadn't really thought about, but that since starting this business, we've heard about from teachers and scout groups. I have a friend who is the director at the Western PA Girl Scouts, and she said, this would be a fabulous badge. We can make a patch. Sure. We can do a walk and a patch, and they learn about their hometown. So we're going to look into that process. And then school groups as well, particularly in the spring. To be able, we can certainly skinny the tour down as it is now. It's 1.25 miles long, and it's about an hour and 45 minutes, give or take a little bit. So we could skinny that down to an hour, or we could expand it if that's what they wanted to do. But in looking forward to that market, we already have we went and got all our child clearances and all of that kind of stuff, because we thought, well, if we are going to have children on the tour, we're going to try and do a Girl Scout tour, we have to have all of those. We have to have those things in place. So yeah, that's another market we're going to look into for sure. I think a Girl Scout badge would be super fun.
It would be fun. Absolutely. I know. I'd go for the little badges to collect. That would be fun.
I mean, Erie is so rich with history, and there's so many things to talk about. And we didn't really talk about this, but one of the reasons that I wanted to start this business is because I run and walk, and I love to be downtown. And I've watched how the Bayfront and even downtown Erie has just transformed in the last 10 or 15 years. I mean, it's really remarkable. All of these people who had insight and worked hard to overcome the obstacles. Sometimes people can be negative in Erie, and particularly lifelong residents. And so when you come down here, like, wow, they overcame, and all of these cool things are happening. Even this radio studio in this beautiful location, in downtown Erie, what didn't look like this 20 years ago. Yeah. You know, so I'm really excited about what's happening at the waterfront and what's happening in the city. And I just want to be a part of that enthusiasm and showcase our town and things like that. So
I think that, you know, this is starting to improve. It's a revitalization that's happening. And we talk about, you know, the pace of that sometimes and what it looks like. And, it, you know, Joel was talking on his show the other day that there's these big projects that, you know, they're fantastic projects. They're very close, and we're all sitting on the edge of our seat waiting for those things to happen. But if you get into the process of trying to make those happen, it does take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Just like you talked about, you're still trying to figure out what the market is or where you can, you know, strategic partnerships with different people.
Right.
Just takes a little while to get everything off the ground.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, we have the infrastructure here, and we have the, you know, one of the things we're really blessed with is that walkway down on the waterfront, which is the result of the hard work of the Sons of Lake Erie, who campaigned and who got that ordinance on the city, in the city bylaws that state that you have to have a walkway if you buy property at the waterfront. And that's the only reason we can do tours at the waterfront.
Absolutely.
I mean, otherwise, you know, a hotel might have just closed off that entire area. You know, you wouldn't have been able to get to the water. So Erie has a lot going for it, and I've always felt that way. And so I'm excited to see what the future holds. You know, you talk about those big projects. Over by the courtyard and by the convention center, there's that open grassy space that they have all kinds of plans for. I've seen everything from ice skating rinks to, you know, I can't even remember, like
a Ferris wheel.
Yes, yeah, I've seen all kinds of things. And so it's exciting to see what they eventually come up with and do there, you know, because I remember when it was just a shingle factory that smelled bad, you know. So
there is new leadership down at the Port Authority, so we're hoping, you know, that there's some new eyes looking at it and coming up with some great ideas.
Yeah. And even what's happened over in our West Bayfront has been so inspiring. And, you know, I have a friend, Erica Romalaho, who works at Gannon and is actually the interim director of our West Bayfront right now. And I, whenever we get together, I'm like, you've had such an impact on this community, and like, that's real. You've made real change and real difference here. And that community building kind of stuff is really exciting. And so I like to be a part of all that. I want to tell people about it. So it's great.
Yeah.
Lauren, just a question for Lauren and Heather. What days and locations are people meeting you to take on these walks?
They're like, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I believe it's 11 and
11
a.m. School tours now.
11 a.m. Is the Best of Erie tour. They meet us at the flagpoles down at Dobbins Landing, and we start right there at it's called Mile Zero. It's Mile Zero of a bike trail.
Yeah.
And then we also have a Monday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. And then some of that will change when we get to the end of August because we lose daylight and Lauren will be back in college. So then we have to adjust the schedule a little bit to accommodate her schedule. But yeah, it's all, that's what we started with, thinking that visitors might want something to do in the early morning. When we were going to start this business, one of the places, I think the very first place we actually went was Visit Erie to ask them if they thought it would be a viable business idea. They know more about visitors that come to Erie. So they had said to us, they were very excited about it. They felt like there was a market for it and there's a need for it. And they told us that there were 3 types of visitors who come to Erie. In general, you have older people that don't have children, empty nesters. They like to learn about history and they like to learn about, you know, the maritime stuff. And then you have parents who have kids to entertain during the day, who are here to have some fun, but learn a little bit. And then you have millennials, or we're going to just say younger adults without children, who she said are very interested in photos. So like they want very scenic places where they can take photos. So part of our tour, we do try to take a couple of group photos and we'll take photos with one of the ideas that I have in the future is something somebody told me about in Nashville called the Photo Walk, where you actually go on a walk with a professional photographer and they take all these photos of you, and then later on you get these wonderful, beautiful photos, because when you're on vacation, you're always doing the selfie thing. So this way you get a professional photo. Now, we're not professionals, but I think we could probably handle it. And there's so many beautiful locations in Erie to be able to do something like that I do think that's something we may be able to do. And through the small business programming that we've been to, we've learned about some grants. And I'm trying to think of the one. There's one from the city. I think it's an art grant. It's a SMART grant, something like that. And that's a situation where we could actually apply for funding to get the equipment that we need, and then maybe the training that we need. So there's so many opportunities out there, and
absolutely,
we've been taking advantage of them. So
flagship fund and
yes,
all of those,
exactly.
Yeah. So
I can see a selfie trail added to your tour.
Yes,
yeah,
for sure.
And
Low hour tour.
Yeah.
Something that maybe if you get the right pictures at the right spots, there's some benefit at the end if they do them all and can choose.
Yeah.
Kind of like a scavenger hunt kind of thing.
Yeah, scavenger hunt idea. So if somebody's thinking about doing one of these tours, and it's on your FAQ page, how fit do they need to be, and is it accessible for people in wheelchairs?
Good question. So it's you don't have to be terribly fit, but we are walking on the sidewalks and things downtown. It's a very slow pace, and we deliberately put a few stops in there where you have an opportunity to sit. There's the wall along the bayfront, and there's benches. We deliberately found places that were kind of shady, so if we need to get in the shade to get relief from the sun, that's there. Now, the accessibility part, it's almost completely accessible because it is, we're mostly down on the sidewalk, and, they have all the curb cuts because the city requires that. The only challenge for us that we found is the second floor of the Dobbins Landing. There's a beautiful mural up there that we want to talk about. It's not easy for someone with a wheelchair or a stroller to get up there. There is a elevator, but the door locks behind you, and then you have to call down to get down there. So that's one challenge that we're trying to figure out how to overcome. And but other than that, it's really pretty accessible, and it's pretty easy walk. It's a 1.25 miles. When I'm a walker and a runner, so when I first laid out this tour, it was like 3.5 miles, and I was like, that's good, right, everybody? And my friends were like, absolutely not. Nobody is gonna walk 3 miles with you. And I was like, oh, okay. And then we did some of the Erie cemetery tours, and with Anna Foll, and those were great. And we realized that we would have to greatly make the distance much smaller, so we did that. So yeah.
Now I'm looking at your websites, and there's so much information that you have for these tours. It looks really neat. I mean, did you have to do a lot of extra research for this, or is this knowledge that you had already, were interested in before? Or, I mean, how much extra research did you have to do for these tours?
Just a little bit of both. I would say, so the way that we started with this is that we went down there, and I had my phone, and as we walked around, I thought of different things that we want to talk about. So I had this giant list on my phone, birds, Oliver Hazard, all this. And then I actually had to go through and throw some stuff out because there was more than we could cover. And frankly, I find all this stuff way more interesting than probably a visitor does. There comes a point when their eyes glaze over and then you're done. But we did have to do quite a bit of research into the War of 1812 to really understand that, and the Battle of Lake Erie. But it's funny you mentioned that. That's the reason that we didn't do the maritime tour, was we just didn't have the time to be able to research it and sound like we knew what we were talking about. And we didn't want people who came here who knew a lot about it to say, well, you're wrong about that.
Yeah. You get that know-it-all in the group.
I will say I'm having a lot of fun researching ghost stories and different haunted buildings around town and different eerie stories and things like that. Gannon in particular has a lot of really great haunting stories over there, and beautiful buildings that we're going to haunt later.
I see the Erie Stories, Legends, Lore, and Sunset Tour. That looks interesting to me because I see you have about the true crime stories about the infamous pizza bomber case and all that. Oh, that looks fun. Yeah,
we'll definitely include that story. We've talked about some of the more recent things that maybe we won't because those, they might have relatives in the area, and we don't want to.
Oh, that's true.
Death is not entertainment, although on some level it is.
There's all these true crime stories. So,
yes.
There's a resource over again, and for that pizza bomber thing, it's Jerry Clark.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
Of course, I see that. That Netflix, that was interesting. That whole series they did
Genius.
on that. Evil Genius,
Yeah, Lauren actually had to read that. It's fun working with a 21-year-old because she doesn't have a lot of the history that I do. I could take you down there and just walk you around Erie and tell you all kinds of stories because I've been here so long. I know all of this. I know what was here, what wasn't here. Yeah. But it's a little harder working with somebody who's 21 and trying to explain things and how they used to be. And but Lauren will be our face and our person.
I'm excited. It's going to be really fun. I love tours. I could do them all day. It's so much fun.
She likes to connect with people.
Yes. Like I love talking. I could talk forever. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's good if you're doing tours. But I would hope you'd like talking.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely.
That connection piece is so important. Yeah. It really makes a difference in different tours that you do. I don't know if you've had the opportunity down in Gettysburg. The tours down there are, well, you have to go through all kinds of school first of all.
Right.
But
yeah.
They really do a good job of connecting with you.
Yeah.
So you
and
feel
that was one of the things that we learned when we did the tour in particularly the one in Cleveland. He was really great. He started his business 6 years ago and he's grown it into an enormous business. And one of the things that he does when there's a lull, like in between stops, he'll be like, so where are you from? Oh, what do you think about, he'll ask you about your hometown. And the first thing he does is he tells everybody in the group, oh, we have Erie here and we have Pittsburgh here and we have whatever, so you kind of can get to know each other a little bit. And he definitely talks people up and tries to chat with them, and that's ultimately our goal, really, is to like have people see the good things about Erie, which is what we do. And Lauren is a young person who's planning to stay here, so
outstanding. We always look for that. That's great.
She'd love to live right here in one of these apartments, in one of these gorgeous apartments here.
Absolutely. It sounds wonderful. I can't wait.
Like every week, I just got the sign that we have 1 minute left. So it goes by so quickly. Fast. The hour goes very fast. I want to thank you both for coming on.
Yeah.
One more quick plug. Where can they find you and get signed up?
www.toureriepa.com. And that's all our social media handles as well. Tour Erie PA.
Thank you. So on behalf of the Erie Technology Incubator and the Corey Higher Ed, we will see you sometime next week. I don't know if we have a guest yet, Steph. Do we have somebody? Nope. Nothing signed up yet.
I don't think so.
We'll work with Brad and Kathy and get one of them, and we'll figure out the other one. But we'll see you next week. Stick around. Laith and Tina coming in for the Economic Pulse.